So here we are for another day of Ink Her interviews. This is where we are going to be talking to 49 women. And why 49? Because 49.6% of the world is women. So we thought we should talk to 49 women. And today we have with us Raji Kannan. She's in Berkeley and California. And as usual, no introduction. We'll dive into the conversation and be prepared with your questions halfway through. I will be happy to take questions. So with that, Raji, welcome to the talk, and we really look forward to talking to you this evening about your journey through, like your whole life condensed into, 30 minutes. So,
Thank
so
you,
it's
Lakshmi.
good.
Thank you. I'm honored to be among the 49 women, right? And thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. So Raji, I wanted to talk about, when I first met you, you were at Nokia. You were running Nokia Labs, and uh, you've been honored there many times. You are the Innovation Oscars there. You were called Pillar of Research and all these things in Nokia Research. Take us back a little bit and say, when did this love for technology start for you?
I think my love for technology started when my dad's friend gave me a camera as a gift. And it was a camera where you have to, print it, you have to roll it, you have to wait for the whole year for the print to go on. And, that was my first love with something digital, right? Because we didn't have phones, we didn't have any TV in our house, we didn't have even I think phone, the landline came only when I was 17. So pretty much
Mm.
no digital, right? And the only digital I remember, and other digital that I remember was BBC radio, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so those were my first digital experiences. And
They were
then by
actually
the
not
time when I
digital, they were
was
very analog, right? So,
they were very analog. They were
yeah,
very analog. Yeah,
right.
totally,
Yeah,
totally.
yeah, yeah.
And then the first computer, when I wanted a first computer, it cost a lot, right? So I didn't want to ask my dad about it. So I went to my neighbor. He had a computer, so he told me how to assemble it. So in my first year of college, I started assembling a computer. It was that was the first time I was looking at motherboard. I was, looking at the hardware, everything together, asking him. He was a professor, luckily. So I was asking him, what is this? What is that? And together we both assembled a computer for me. It was one of the cheapest computers ever. My dad was happy. I was happy. Everybody was happy. And that was my
And it
first
worked.
introduction. And it worked, and it worked, and it worked like a charm, right? Even though we have to press and all that green screens and blue screens and things like that you'll have to experience, but it was an amazing
Correct.
experience hardware wise to build something with your hands.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But from there to, I mean, you grew up in a very middle class family, you went to engineering school and you did all these things. From there to being, the head of one of the, largest companies, research lab is a journey. Tell me a little bit about when was the first turning point, the first break that took you, like when you're going around to go to the moon, there's a stratosphere, there's escape velocity, right? So something has to happen to
Yeah,
take you to
something.
the next orbit.
Right, right. So my first ever job was in Imused. It was the very first product startup in Bangalore. Okay, at that
Mhm.
time there was not much startups in Bangalore, right? Imused was the first one, and there I was introduced to multimedia technologies, and Nokia was a client, one of our client, right?
Mhm,
So
mhm,
they saw my work and they really liked, and they called me for an interview. So I did the interview. I joined, a multimedia team in Nokia. We brought the first YouTube onto mobiles. We were the first team in the world to bring YouTube. We collaborated with Google and brought YouTube to mobiles, right? The first time
mhm,
I was looking at videos, browser, all of those things. So right
mhm,
after that was launched, my boss referred me to another boss in Finland, and he said he wants to start a research, right? He was looking to start for a research, first research team in Nokia Research Center in Bangalore. So he
mhm.
interviewed me. He gave me a paper, and it was a face recognition Viola Jones paper.
Mm-hmm.
And he asked me to study the paper. I studied that paper. I told him another 8 ideas what was wrong with the paper, right? And what could be improved with the paper. So I
Mm-hmm.
learned that there were 32 people who had applied for the job in Bangalore, all the heads. And I was the only woman who applied, and I got in. And many of them had PhDs, many of them had others. I was a PhD dropout. Like after masters, I became pregnant with my kid, and I was working, so I didn't even do my PhD. So I thought I had zero chance of being selected to a research position. It was
Mm-hmm.
unheard. Finnish people had never ever got a master's person into running a PhD research, research organization. You have to have a PhD.
PhD,
So I was
yeah.
selected. I was selected, and I remember the HR coming and congratulating me. And she said, a couple of managers even called and they were amazed that you got in, and they were not very happy about it
Yeah.
because they were much more senior and they were much more probably educated and so on. So I went and asked my boss at that time, Polly Havinen, why did you take me? Right?
Mhm.
I didn't expect. No, looks like nobody else expected. And he said, I gave the same task to everybody else, but you were the only one who came up with 8 more ideas, and told about what could be, right? What could be. You painted a picture of what could be. For the
Mhm.
rest, 3 days was not even enough to understand the paper.
Yeah, right.
So
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
mine, and it was him. It was him, that one person, one belief, he had in me that brought me into research. I didn't know anything about making cameras. I didn't know anything about building. I had heard the first time I heard the word computational imaging in my life. And then the story goes on that I worked for 10 years on face recognition. I worked
Mhm.
for, worked on cameras that could see the unseen. For
Mhm.
example, octopus can see in so many spectrums,
Mhm.
insect can see in so many spectrums,
Mhm.
researching
Yeah.
about hyperspectral imaging, NIR imaging. And if you start looking at the world through that lens, right, it's so beautiful. The fall leaves in NIR imaging looks so beautiful, so beautiful. I was blown away by other dimensions of light. I fell in love with it. So, and I got a
But
fantastic
let me
team.
stop you there for a second. It sounds so fascinating because you went too fast in that. So what is it like when you see a fall leaf through what? What is it you're looking at that makes it? Is it a close-up or is it analysis of it? It's what are you looking at?
So you're looking at, say, a leaf or a tree, right? In NIR, in the other spectrum, and you can start seeing
What does
how
NIR stand for?
near infrared imaging.
Near
So
infrared. Okay.
our visible spectrum is the VIBGYOR colors, right?
Right.
Right
Yeah.
after the VIBGYOR colors is your near infrared.
Ah,
And in that
okay.
near infrared, only certain species can see. Humans cannot
Ah,
see in that spectrum. So
got
when you
it. Got
start to see with camera, the other spectrum, like hyperspectral imaging, hyperspectral
Yeah.
is even more frequencies. You can see the world in even more, right? So you can start
Which you
seeing
can't see to our naked eye. Like animals can see, certain insects can see. You're
exactly.
seeing like that from that
Yeah.
point of view.
Yeah.
From
Yeah.
that perspective. Like, yeah,
So I
okay.
started to see from their point of view how the world looked like, and it was fascinating, totally
Yeah,
fascinating, right? You could
yeah.
see the unseen things, you could capture unseen things, you could look at which area was cold, which area was hot, those
Mm,
things that animals use to find their prey, right? They can see at distance thermal imaging,
mm,
right? Like how much heat is being
mm,
emitted
mm.
from an object. Every
Right.
object emits heat, or every object emits heat or cold, right?
Uh-huh.
And then we also did a demo of light speak, right? So light speak was a technology where you can use light to communicate. So the ordinary
Mhm,
light blinks in zeros and ones, and you can actually
mm,
communicate messages with light, right?
mm.
So
Got
all of
it.
these fascinating things, and my team in Nokia Research was a rock star team, because I
Yeah,
did
I
the
know. I
same.
met them. They were amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I did
Yeah.
the same interview with them. I gave them a paper and they have to tell me what's wrong and what's the new ideas. And I recruited from remote villages and all other places, and amazing people. Even now they are together, they are still running a company together in India.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's called Light
So,
Metrics. They're very
right.
successful. Mm.
Okay. So, I mean, it's so fascinating. Like when you say, like, say, for example, when you look at a leaf in the NIR, like, what do you see that we can't see with the naked eye?
you can see how the insects went through it, for example, what it has eaten, what not, right? Like
Mhm.
you can
Yeah, yeah.
see what
Like
is
the
a,
veins of
yeah, yeah.
the leaf.
Yeah, and you can probably see rotten before it gets rotten to your naked eye. You can see those. Yeah,
Right,
it
yeah,
is very
yeah,
fascinating world
yeah,
that you can
yeah.
see.
Now, actually, it's so interesting. I mean, whether it's planned or not, the interest that started with a camera, is gotten, unexpectedly you landed in that, in visualization, etc. Now, you spent, this decade in corporate. You were one of the top women, not just top women, top researchers, and in the corporate world, etc. And you left that all to go do a start. I mean, you went to MIT Media Labs and you completely took a different turn. So, first of all, it takes a lot of guts to give up a high paying, strong corporate job and go to an entrepreneurial journey. Like, what made that shift for you?
Yeah, and I have done that shift 3 times now.
I know. We'll
So
come to the other ones later.
yeah, so there is no fear in me. There is only risk taking. So if I decide I want to do something cool, something interesting, I just dive in. I don't, even today, my husband buys my clothes. My father used to do that before. You give me a mat, I can just sleep in it. I don't need anything. So I will never worry about calculations. Hey, aisa ho jayega, this will happen, that will happen. Those calculations don't run in my mind. It runs in my husband's mind. He gets tensed every time I quit, not me. I will just quit and I'll say, okay, let me do this, right? And after a few
Yeah,
times, he has gotten used to it now. Now he also
yeah.
doesn't,
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah,
I'm just that, because I think it comes from our parents, because they never questioned you, they never told you what to become, they never put any pressure on what it is, right? At the max, I would have wanted 10K salary, right? That's it. It would have been great for me. So they never put a pressure. And even for my brother, he was at home till he was even 31. Not one time to either me or my brother, they ever asked a question, what job you will get, what you will do, nothing. And imagine we being in their shoes, how much we tell our kids, poor kids,
correct.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
that confidence comes from non-interference.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's
That
interesting.
risk-taking ability comes from that.
But still, there is I mean, this kind of a shifts are not easy, right? Your husband had to change his career, and when you guys came here, he couldn't work, and it's a big shift for your daughter. But I want you to talk a little bit about there's a reason why you wanted to come to US, where your daughter played a role in that as well. So tell about that journey a little bit.
Yeah, so when my daughter was around 8 months or so, like every other day, I came back from Nokia, but I noticed that she was not well, right? She was not making her usual sounds and so on. So I took her to, NIMHANS at that time. It is a famous neurology center in Bangalore, and
Yeah.
she was diagnosed with autism, right?
Mhm.
And for me, that was I was succeeding in my career like really well. But at home, my situation was this, right? Like she needed my attention, but at the same time, we are blessed with joint family. So my in-laws were with me, my husband, very hands-on husband. My mother and my dad moved from Coimbatore to Bangalore. So all of that helped me, and I learned a lot of things from my daughter, right? And
Mhm.
she is now at UC Berkeley, but there was a time when she could not talk at all. And I felt the environment for her there was not very conducive. So I shifted her and moved her to US. But
Mhm.
my main goal of coming to US was I started a startup and I realized that India was not a market for that startup, right? I realized that US was the market for consumer who would pay something like 199, $299. It's not going to happen in India. So I was only supposed to come here for 4 months, be part of an accelerator, finish it, find a CEO, and go back. But I have not gone back yet. But I'll go back someday. But I'll go back
Okay.
someday.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And tell me about that startup journey. You started that, and then you had actually a product, a camera that you created. That was, which year was that, Raji? That
It
was
was, I
20.
think, 2014 to 2016.
So tell us about, and you sold that. So that's your second avatar of startup. So tell me a little bit about that product, what you created at that time.
Yeah, it was called Kiba Smart Camera. It was the
Right.
world's first self-editing AI camera at the time. You can say Kiba record and it would record your dance, it would record your happy moments. We built a technology called Joy Ranking algorithm. So our
Mm.
AI at that time was called Joy Ranking algorithm because it would see through hours of video and swift and see only happy moments. I didn't want anything negative at that time, right? And my daughter was very, very small at that time, so I wanted to be in the frame. I was I was a good photographer. I was always the one who is clicking photos. Even now if you come to any event, I will be the one clicking the photos, right? I will
Yeah.
not be in the frame. So I wanted to get in the frame, and for me a way of getting in the frame with my daughter was to build that camera.
Uh-huh.
So the Kiba smart camera was a love letter for my child, right? That I can
Mm.
show her all these happy moments because at that time, unless, every day I used to see at the end, I used to cry in the morning because I used to miss her or something bad happened with her. But at the end of the day, it will show me the happy moments. That
Yeah.
became my recording and saying that, okay, God has given me these happy moments,
This
right?
is when you were separate, right? She was in India and you were in the
Yeah, no,
US.
I had started this startup already when I was in India, and with
Okay.
Pranav, one of my co-founders, from Nokia Research Center. So he was
Right.
there, and then Ramesh was also there. So I'd already started it in India, but I came to US because India was not a market, and I had
Mm-hmm.
to fundraise and I had to anyway come here. So the whole premise of that startup was that you can cherish those happy moments. We are trained in our brain to remember some negative moments, but if we can retrain our brain to look at only happy moments, right? And this was my way of saying, okay, you will get those at the end of the day, you will get those 10 happy moments. It will look for joy, it will look for laughter, it will look for dance, it will look for all those fantastic moments that you have.
Mm-hmm. And you decided to sell that company. What made you decide to do it? Tell me, how did that offer come? How did you decide? Just that whole process that you went through.
It was not even my decision to do so. So it was board decision, and
Mhm.
maybe it should have ended differently. Yeah, but so the way it went is we did a pilot with a pet company. So they did. It was a pilot where instead of kids, you do it with pets. And for many parents, pets are amazing too, right? They are part of the family and they have the joyous moments with those. So built it for kids and sold it for pets.
Okay, okay, okay. And so that's your second avatar. And then you went to Meta, actually, which is not the Meta we know today. It's a
Yeah.
Meta that was, one of the most well-funded startups of its times. So what were you doing there? How did you get into that? And what was the role there? And what did you do there?
Yeah, so I met Meron, who was a CEO at an event, and he was very happy with Kiba, the design of it and everything else. So he told me, "Why don't you come for an interview?" So I did a whole day
Hmm.
interview. I think around 16 people would have interviewed me that day. I thought at several moments I would not be selected, but I came out at the end. I led the product there. So, just the vision of the startup was amazing because we are heads down, love with the device kind of an interface, right? And the idea of Meta at that time, it was the world's first augmented reality startup. And the idea
Right.
was to grab objects intuitively. Like, if you asked a child to grab a cup, have you ever taught a child to grab a cup? We never teach a child, right? It
Correct.
grabs intuitively because the depth of the objects and how to grab it is stored in evolution. So
Mm.
the similarly, if we have to run across a room, our brain is continuously calculating what is the distance from the wall and preventing us from falling, right? Now, these things you don't have to teach a kid. Imagine if you have to teach these things to a kid. You will go out of brain, right? But none
Correct.
of these you have to teach because it is taught through evolution. So we took all these neuroscience principles of how evolutionary we have been trained, and we have to use that in the user interface. So pick an object, grab an object, zoom an object, the things that we do in our in our physical world, we want to embody that in a digital world. And that
Hmm.
startup was amazing. The only mistake was it was too well funded, like 70 million, right? So the expenditure in the startup was not well managed, but the vision was great. It's amazing, and the for a camera to be made in as
The
small
glasses.
a
Yeah.
form
Yeah.
factor and a glass factor is a very hard job, very, very hard
Correct.
job. And we
Yeah.
tried that first. After our startup, so many invested millions and billions into it, right?
Correct.
Every single company wanted it. Every single
Hmm.
company invested into it.
Yeah.
So that was a fantastic evolution as well. One dream job after the other.
Right, right. Now that was bought by Facebook, and that's how Facebook became Meta, actually. It took the name, and isn't it?
They got the assets. They didn't. It was not acquired by Facebook, but the name and some of the assets went to another company called MetaView, and
Mm.
yeah. So, but the Meta name was gone, right? So Facebook could take it anyway.
Yeah, right, right, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you went to Intel after that. You did another job there, etc. So now in all these things, you've been in a big company, then a startup, and then a startup that was like a big company, and then a big company again. Now, through all this, there is actually a question from the audience. So let me ask you this. One of the questions is, as a woman, as a woman in deep tech, did you ever feel the pressure to prove yourself more than your male peers? And how did you deal with that?
I dealt with that by studying a lot. I would read a lot of papers and I would do a lot. But I didn't really think about it because the world around me was so fascinating that such a thought did not creep in. Yeah, I would be the only female in the board member, but somebody else had to point that to me. I never thought about it because I had better things to think about than that, right? And I always thought I was equal, and the people around me believed in it. I think one of the first thing women have to
Yeah.
do is to first believe in ourselves, that and not
Mhm.
think of ourselves as lesser or anything else, right? So it stems
Mhm.
from our own insecurities than anybody else. And the people whom I have worked with, I'm always the average of the five people that surround myself, and that
Mhm.
average
Yeah.
was very high, and that average was very high for me. So
Mhm.
more than me, I would say, kudos to them. They never made me feel so too.
Yeah. And also, one of the things, Raji, I do want you to talk a little bit about is you're someone who believes that everything can be changed. Like you're somebody who never says, oh, this is fate or this is what meant to be or whatever. I mean, even in your child's case, you talked about this beautifully in a talk recently about, when she was diagnosed autistic, you just said, I'm not going to give up. I mean, you actually worked on her visualization, like she's really into art. You taught things through art. I mean, while you were doing a full-time job, you also took your daughter as a science project.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about what did you actually do for her to, I mean, now she's a, full-time student in Berkeley. She's so articulate and she really speaks out about quite a bit about being neurodivergent and very, very articulate. So what is it that you, just tell me two, three things that you actually did so another parent can learn from this as well.
Yeah, I think the one of the first things I wrote in my diary back then was never to cry. Um,
Hmm.
you know, so first thing is I did not cry about it. I remember one of the neighbors saying that, she's mentally ill, so I don't really want to send my child, don't send my child, send her to my house.
Mm.
I just wrote in my diary that it's on them, not on me, right?
Correct.
And
Correct.
then there are a lot of people who will say she became autistic because of this reason, or you didn't take care in pregnancy, all kinds of reasons that
Correct.
would come
Correct.
up.
Correct. Correct. Yeah.
So societal pressure was always there. But what I noticed is, the early part was very, very hard. We diagnosed her very early, so that was great. So don't wait
Mhm.
if a mother or parent if they ever feel that something is wrong, and a mother normally knows it first. just go and do something about it, get diagnosed. I think that's the first thing. To acknowledge the problem is the first thing, because there is a denial before an acceptance. And that denial phase, if we get over with very quickly, then we can move to acceptance. Then I thought about how can I get the best therapist for my daughter. I put an ad in a paper, and found out where, in Bangalore, there could be best ones. Okay. So I put her there and they taught her, they observed all the great things about her, right? Like, for example, ABCD, I spent a month teaching her ABCD. A to Z should have been easy, right? But I spent a month teaching her. And then this paint paper, right? If you see the paint scratching paper, it is texture is very, very, coarse texture. If
Correct.
you rub it, it will be very rough. If you rub it with your finger, it will be very rough. But
Correct.
I learned that that is good for them. So when I made her write ABCD in that textured paper, she learned it in
Mm.
one day, not only front but also backward.
Wow. Wow. That much.
So what does that teach? Yeah, what does that
Yeah.
teach? I don't know how to teach her. Not that she didn't know how to learn, right? So
Correct.
that was
Correct.
my
Yeah.
first thing. Okay, ABCD can be learned backwards also. I cannot do backwards even today. She did it that
Correct.
day, right? When she
Yeah.
was young, she
Right.
could do it backward.
Uh-huh.
And the second teaching for me came in her dance class. The very first dance class, she was rejected. They told her that she cannot join this dance class at all. And then, the next dance class where she was accepted, they had like huge mirrors. They did not complain that she was not listening or anything like that.
Mm.
Looking at the mirrors, her mirror neurons were activated. She has a visual memory. So she learned the dance faster than anybody else.
Mm.
Fast forward to today, dance has been her let go, way to, see the
Let
world,
it all
right?
out,
Let
kind
it
of.
all
Yeah.
out. Let the stress all out. Even if she studies for 3 hours, she'll go down and do a dance, right? Not social media or anything else.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
then to the extent that she was in Berkeley's dance team and everything else, right? So a
Mm.
huge journey. Dance has been a huge part of our confidence building. And the very small lesson was there again was that it is not that she didn't know how to dance. It is that we
Correct.
had to tap into what she was good at, which was mirrors. Just keep mirrors there and don't give any instructions. The
Mm-hmm.
fact that without any instruction she could learn dance meant that we didn't know how to teach, right?
Correct. Correct.
And
Yeah.
this was repeated again and again for in my life, right? Like if you gave her a paper and pencil, and she would do very well. So initially she would not remove her dress. It would take me 3 4 hours and a lot of crying for her to even change the dress when she was very young. But I used iPad and showed her how she can remove her own dress and do the step one, step two, step three, and she would learn it. That's it,
Yeah.
right?
She wanted to do it
So
herself. She didn't want
yeah,
anybody else.
yeah.
Yeah.
So this programming, where I had to learn everything and then reprogram myself so that it suits her. I wouldn't say I reprogrammed her. I reprogrammed myself to what she was
Correct.
good at.
Correct. Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
changed her. By 4 years, she was speaking. Until four, she was not speaking, but she
Mm.
started speaking very quickly. And when she started speaking, it was so fast and so much. It's as if that 4 years she was bottled in up inside her, and she would she would start.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So now she speaks in five languages fluently. So, there was
Wow.
a time when I've asked God if she can only speak to express herself. Because when she didn't express herself, she used to cry, she used to throw tantrums, and my soul used to rip apart. Whenever you see your kid suffering like that without communication, it rips
Mhm.
you apart. You are completely shattered.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
so
Yeah.
from there to here, great journey, right? I mean, her
Yes.
brain was
Yeah.
rewired and mine too.
Yeah, right. I think it's a very important point you're making is that when it, not just in the case of autism or whatever, if something is not working, it's not that it's not about how we are saying it, it's about how it's heard.
Yeah.
Are we saying it in a way the other person hears it, or can we adjust the way we say it? I think that's the really big thing that's important. So I want to come to what you're doing now. During summer, I mean, not summer, actually, during COVID, your kid was home and you started doing projects with kids. And tell me a little bit about what is it you learned out of doing that projects? And it was a huge shift for you to quit Intel and then, or quit big company, important position, etc., and say, I'm going to be an entrepreneur again in a completely new area. This has got nothing to do with cameras or anything, but it's really about visualization of a different kind, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
tell me that experience during COVID and what is it that you're doing now?
So during COVID, my husband started a start. My husband was doing a startup called Health Tap, right? So
Hmm.
if I was in a startup and he was also in a startup, it used to be difficult. So while I was in Intel, I asked my manager to take a 25% cut. So when my child comes home, I'm there. That is one thing I didn't want to compromise. When my child was home, I should be home. We should talk about documentaries. We should talk about what went on in our life. I wanted to be there for that. So my Intel boss, his kid and my kid went to the same school, but I used to bring my kid to Intel office, and he used to ask me, "Why is your kid home?" I said, "Your kid must be home too. You don't know. Your wife is taking care. You are here, but I have to bring
Yeah.
her along."
Right.
uh,
Yeah.
so he gave me the 25% cut, but then I was still not very happy because my husband was very busy. He used to come home at 10 p.m. those days, and I thought this is not going to work, right? I need to be there. So I quit my Intel job and I was getting a very highly paid Intel job. It was really, really good salary, more than 500K or so a year. And I had just bought a house there in Dublin, my own house for a million, then that was expensive, no? And now I decided and told my husband, she was at the same time facing bullying at school, my daughter. So
Mm.
I decided after some months of therapy and all that, I decided I cannot change the kids, right? So I'll change her environment. So I brought a hub, I purchased a house in Dublin for her.
Mm.
And so one of the things is, if we cannot change others, change the environment. You can get out of there, right? And for
Yeah.
people in depression or anything else, I would just advise, like, change of place is a great great thing as well. So when I started with COVID, I was just, my intent was to help my daughter through high school, nothing else, right? But then she introduced me to some of her friends. I started to do research projects for them, got involved in her school PTA, did projects there too. Then the neighborhood school came to me and said, during COVID, a lot of math teachers were resigning. So can you please help us with math competition and after school math? So I said yes. So one kid became 20, 20 became 100, 100 became 150. My WhatsApp was ringing continuously. And I thought, if I'm anyway going to spend 20 hours a day with kids, why not do it as a formal company, right? And scale it properly. I can't scale this to a million. At that time, I was thinking only 1 million kids. Now I'm thinking 100 million kids. But at that
Yeah.
time, I was thinking I cannot scale like this. Even I multiplied by number of years I would be alive into the number of students that I was taking per year. And I thought the math is not working.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So that was the reason why I started Blue Robins. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I learned a
So
lot,
tell us a little bit about it because it's amazing. One of the things we always say is that kids learn so much by doing, by projects, etc., way more than they do in
Yeah.
academics. So tell me a little bit about this project-based learning and how you turn that into a company. So tell us about Blue Robins.
Yeah. So when kids were coming to me with project ideas, right? They came to me with research projects. One kid, for example, he loved biking, and his mother was very scared to send him through bike because she was scared that he will get hit in a road or something like that. So he built a
Hmm.
smart helmet with cameras at the back that could detect and alert him, right? So that he won science competition. So that kid now did a second project in finance and stock. You saw him, Abhijay. Now he's doing a
Correct.
heart project. Now he's doing a heart project, the third project. So, most of these kids stayed with me for 4 years, right, during that entire COVID journey and beyond. And they did multiple projects. What I saw in them is, when they initially came, they were full of doubt in themselves. But the moment they finished a project, their confidence skyrocketed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I realized every child has talent. What they lack is confidence, and confidence cannot be inherited. It can only be engineered. So
Yeah.
confidence has to be engineered, and you have to do action to build that confidence. It can never be inherited from a dad or mom,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that realization made me think that, okay. And some of the kids came and told me, Auntie, I don't like Python. My mom asked me to do it. I don't want to join robotics club, but my dad asked me to do it. So I found a pattern that parents were asking them to learn tools, not solve problems. Instead, if you
Mm-hmm.
say, okay, I'm forgetting my homework, can my light alert me, my desk lamp alert me whenever I miss my homework, right? With a sound and a music and a nice tune, right? Hey, 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 something like that. And that was one of the student projects. He built his lamp to alert him of homeworks, right? And he loved it, and he learned Python through that way. He learned Arduino by doing that project. So why not learn these tools by solving a problem that you have or a fascination that you have, rather than learning Python for a whole 2 years and the child not knowing what to do with it, syntax after syntax, right? And only
Mm-hmm.
motivated kids can go through it. 90% of the kids who are not motivated will fall through that and say, hey, this looks, this looks nothing to me, right? It means nothing to me. I would rather not do anything of it. So kids start telling their parents, if you are a computer engineer, I don't want to be anything like you because this
Mm-hmm.
sounds like creepy to me, right? I cannot
Yeah.
relate myself with it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right. I
so
think
a
it's
lot of
very
that.
interesting what you're saying is that instead of teaching a tool, get them to use the tool to solve a problem where they're learning the tool as a means to an end, not as an end in itself, right? It's
Yeah,
sort of,
for
okay, I have to solve
example,
that.
yeah,
Yeah. No, if to
yeah,
solve a problem for that, oh, I need to learn Python, I need to learn math, I need to learn something else. It's easier than sit and learn these equations and all
yeah,
that kind
yeah.
of stuff.
And maybe to
So,
make a smart helmet, you need to write only 4 lines of Python code. Why did the child has to go through 2 years of Python programming? Not necessary, right?
so if you think of, I mean, if you think of something like a differential equations or something, that are quite involved, etc. Like, what kind of projects would one do where you learn it naturally? Because these are like difficult concepts, right? Integrals, differentials, and all these kinds of stuff. So then the projects also would be very complicated. Like what could a high schooler do where they can use differential equations to solve something?
Yeah,
And
forget
and,
high
and that too.
school or what,
uh,
even elementary school kids do projects with us. We start from 8 years down to 17 years. So for elementary, I'll talk about elementary, middle, and high. For elementary kids, we do things, projects like 3D printing, Arduino. The Arduino projects could be like detecting a dangerous gas or carbon dioxide or pollution level in your house, right? Or outside, or it could be for example, it could be 3D printing, right? Like a lot of kids love to bring their imaginary world of Greek
yeah,
mythology characters or dragons or whatever it is into 3D printed objects, right? So
existence.
they
Yeah,
do,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. So they do those kind of projects, and then middle school parents come and tell me my kid is watching video games all the day. So we tell, okay, that's not a problem. Why do you think it's a problem? We'll make them create those games. Okay,
yeah.
if your kid is watching animation whole day, we'll make them create those animation characters. Don't try to tell them that they're completely wrong and take it away. Then they'll rebel, right? And you don't
Mhm.
want that. So it's easy to elementary and middle. You don't have the societal pressure of finding a major for your college or anything like that. So these kids, if we start from 8, they stay with you for a very long time, right? And the high school kids, they want to build a penthouse before they have any foundation. They want to directly go to write a research paper. They want to get into MIT or Stanford or Berkeley. Their parent is
Yeah,
telling the only way to do it is a research paper. So the parent calls me, hey, can you publish a research paper? What does your kid knows? Nothing. Nothing. So they
right,
want a
right.
penthouse before they can build
A
anything,
foundation.
right?
Yeah.
And that's what one of my mentors, Ashish, Dr. Ashish, is one of my mentors, and he told me, hey, kids are asking to build the penthouse before they build a foundation. And so
Yeah,
we told
right.
all parents who come to our platform that we will not promise a research paper
Hmm.
at all, right? You
Yeah,
come here to discover. We will provide you opportunities to showcase your work, right? Whether it is an event or whether it is a demo or a Kickstarter or an app launch. And these are great. All of my kids have gone to MIT still. They have still gone to Rice University. They've still gone to Barnard. But there is this societal pressure that only if you write a research paper you can do it and somehow just make something. So there are a lot of
correct.
companies which give you ready-made notebooks, and then call it a day done. The kid doesn't learn anything. The kid doesn't learn
Yeah.
anything.
Right. Yeah.
right? So what a high schooler can do, they can do projects, they have done like American Sign Language recognition, they have done projects like, stock market prediction analysis, they have done medical, heart prediction, heart failure prediction data, take a bunch of data and analyze and see patterns with it. And yes, some of these need knowledge in matrices, they need knowledge in differential equation and others. But again, our project based learning is teach them only what they need to solve that problem. We don't have to teach
Correct.
10 years of differential equation or 2 years of matrice, right? Okay,
Yeah.
how is an image stored in computer? It is a matrix, it is
Okay.
a 3 cross 3 matrix. You need to know RGB, but that much you can teach in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So
Right.
teach
Yeah.
that and move on with the project. Why get stuck, right?
Yeah.
And then the
I think it's
kid will get motivated to learn more and more.
yeah. And also, it's that concept of the once that curiosity is evoked of
Yeah.
solving something, the doors to learning also open. It's that the kid has to be curious in knowing the answer. So tell us a little bit about the Blue Robins that you're doing right now, your dreams, your goals, what you're doing here.
Yeah, so Blue Robins is a global youth innovation platform, and my vision is that kids all the way from elementary, to high school and later even to college and adults, right? Everybody can learn through project-based learning. And the second part is mentors, right? We didn't talk about mentors,
Right. Yeah.
but what mentors do is they bring their lived experience. And now these mentors are college kids, or they have near peer mentors. They have done it, I can do it too. And they don't want the nagging of the parents, they would rather listen
Correct.
to somebody from a mentor, right? And the mentor is not preventing your failure, but when you fail, he will make sure that you don't quit, you will rise back up. And that is
Correct.
the role of a mentor. Because how many of us have joined courses and we never completed? How many of
Correct.
us write goals and we never complete it? We as adults do it, kids definitely will do it, right? So mentor is there to ensure that they do not break away mid path, right? 100% project completion rate we have. Not a single kid has gone away from our platform without completing a project. Why?
Mhm.
Because there is a mentor by your side who believes in you. That belief
Yeah.
is very, very important for a child. It is very important that I don't think I believe in me, I don't think my parents might, but there is somebody who's saying that yeah, you can do it, right?
And also,
So
if somebody you don't know, not your parent or somebody believes in you,
yeah,
it gives you that much more motivation to live up to it. It's sort of this person has no stakes and still, a parent nagging you is a different thing. But when somebody outside believes in you, then and you rise to the occasion also. So tell me a little bit about you've had the company now for 4 months, 5 months. How many months has it
yeah,
been?
around 6 months, yes.
6 months, okay. And tell me a little bit about how many projects have been completed. How has it been, this whole ride for you?
I think it's been fantastic. I am amazed every single day what the kids can capable of achieving, right? I'm totally amazed what they can achieve, and they surprise me every single time. We have over 100 projects in our platform, and we have done amazing. Kids who have already graduated. One set of kids who are in 12th already graduated, and they are in Rice University now. They're coming back as mentors. Some of our kids are now going to college and they're coming back as mentors, and that's great. We have a bunch of mentors from UC Berkeley. We go on a hike, just 5 minutes from the campus. So we get continuous talent from UC Berkeley, which is great. We are part of Skydeck. Skydeck also gives us a lot of resources. That is great. It's one of the top accelerators. UC Berkeley is an environment where it produces the largest amount of startups. It produces the largest amount of women entrepreneurs. So in all of
Hmm.
these, Berkeley is amazing as an ecosystem. So me being at Berkeley has been an amazing journey as well. At the
Hmm.
same time, what our mentors are capable of, right? What they, the kind of commitment they are showing. Okay, I wish I had a mentor like this. Many mentors, I
Correct.
ask them, you are so brilliant. Why are you even doing this? And they say, I wish I had that mentor, right? That's why I'm
Yeah.
doing it.
Correct. Correct.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
every day I have felt I should come back as an elementary child and just go through this program again, my own program. I want to go through it
Yeah.
elementary, middle, and high and see what I can achieve.
I know, really. Because I think if you can spark that interest early on, that curiosity to learn stays on, that's the most important thing because the world is going to change so much. We cannot predict today what's
Mm,
going to be there in 3 years. What do we need to learn in 3 years? We have no idea.
yeah,
So the only thing that will save us is the excitement to learn, like sort of
yeah,
to how to break it into pieces and learn and keep moving forward.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
And
think
kids
that's
have,
really what you're teaching the kids.
right? And kids have excitement, right? If you give an elementary child a stick, he will be happy with it for hours. He knows
Correct.
how to
Yeah.
be happy in very simple terms. Kids already know it and they have
Yeah.
that curiosity and inquisitiveness. But today, if you see, there is a dichotomy. There is so much knowledge, there is so much information, yet people don't get jobs, right? There is so
Right.
much social media, there is so much connection, yet teens are the most lonely today than ever before. So,
Yeah.
so there is a lot of disparity in what is available and what the kids are feeling today. A lot of them even at Berkeley are very unsure about getting a job. I today I spoke to a Disney mentor who volunteered to be a mentor with us. He told me that they just passed 45,000 applicants to take one intern.
Wow.
So you can see where
Competition
it is
is really
heading,
high.
right?
Yeah,
And that is
yeah,
why all of these, half of the population to become entrepreneurs. They should just become entrepreneurs and do amazing things, not wait for a job at all.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Talking about that, you said that entrepreneurial journey is a sine curve. There are ups and downs, etc.
Yeah.
For you, what was the when was it like a total down for you, where you felt, and how did you come out of it? Or do you ever have any downs at all? I mean, you
I
yourself said
have
it's
a
a
lot of
sine.
downs.
So
I
did
have a
you?
lot of downs, but my brain is restructured to not think about it for more than a couple of days. It is just rewired like that. I'm
Yeah.
fortunate that God made me rewire like that, but a lot of downs. For
Mm.
example, when I came to US, it was just with $500. I didn't really know anybody in US. I had to go fundraise. I wrote so many random emails to so many investors, met them over coffee. At least then they came for coffee shop and breakfast. Now they wouldn't even come. Now it's all Zoom and they wouldn't even
Oh,
come
yeah.
now because so many people ask and that's flooded with the AI emails and spam emails that they don't even care for it. But those days there was some genuine connection. So they used to
Mhm,
come and it was easy still to raise money and everything else. Everything is compounded in difficulty now.
mhm,
Yeah, but my even now, right? I had difficulties. Not everything can be said on camera, but there are
mhm,
always ups and downs in a startup. But what is great thing about startup? You can fail in startup and still be excited to start the next startup. Why?
mhm,
Because the learning journey was great. That's what even I want to do in Blue Robins. Kids can go up and down. They can have up and down journeys, but still they will want to fail and do the next project because it
mhm,
is exciting and they're learning a lot.
mhm, mhm. So
So
one of the questions that's asked here is many working women worry about whether they're preparing their children or mentees for the future. What skills actually matter now?
there are only two skills that matter: create, sell. If you're able to create something and sell something, that's great. So
Yeah,
how do
yeah,
we
yeah.
how do we inculcate this in kids is to make them do some projects, right? Let them try by trial and error a bunch of projects that will bring the skills, right? And selling,
Mm,
I think it's important that after doing the project they showcase the project somewhere, whether it is at an event, whether it is a poster, whether it is whatever it is, right? And very simple ways to teach selling to kids is, if you're moving from a house to another house, right? You will want to sell many items. Please don't do it. Let the child put up a garage sale and let the child go door to door and give a flyer and ask parents or others to come to your house and sell it, right? Simple ways you can teach selling to your kid. Every time you move a house, everybody moves house, right? I don't think anybody stays in the same house for 100 years, right? So every time you move a house, just give that project to your
mhm,
kid and let them sell it, right? So selling and
mhm.
creation, those are the only two things that matter.
I do want to emphasize on the selling. part of it because I think a lot of people feel, oh, I don't know how to sell. I don't know how to sell. But I always say you're selling every minute. If you want somebody to eat the dish you made, you're selling. If you want someone to do what you want to do, you're selling. So I think, first of all, people have to stop saying, it's like, we have taught girls to say, oh, I don't like math. And it's okay. And I'm like, don't even say it. I don't like math. It's just, you're doing math all the time. When you give somebody money and getting a change, you're doing math. So, but the minute you start saying, oh, I hate math, that becomes a reality. Similarly, I do want to underscore what you're saying in terms of it's selling is everything because otherwise everything will remain dormant. And no, if you don't know, get somebody who knows how to do it and learn from them. But I think we have to stop saying, I don't know how to sell. Like
Yeah,
it's a,
and I think one more dimension which we should not miss is character building.
yeah,
Like where I grew up, even seeing two times a meal a day was a luxury. Okay, but now kids don't have those kind of problems or poverty or anything else that we had as a problem, right? They are entitled, they are privileged. So how do you bring empathy into them? How do you have those connections to India with your grandparents? How do you bring those values? Those also can be done through projects, right? For example, let them volunteer at senior care center, let them work with some NGOs, let them go back to India in summer if you want connection, or Armenia or Russia, wherever you come from as an immigrant, right? That connection to your roots, you can still have those. And every summer I made sure I took my kid to India. So today if I ask her, can you shift to India, she'll say yes. She's not going to say
yeah,
no.
right. Yeah,
And that is because you have taken that effort to connect to your roots, whatever that roots may be. Maybe it is Russian, maybe it is Poland, it may be Irish, but
yeah.
connect. You have to also take care of the third dimension, which is character building and empathy and gratitude. Those have to
All
also
the
be
soft
built.
skills that are
Yeah.
very, very important. Absolutely, absolutely. So here is
Yeah.
the last question from the audience. It says, if you could give one piece of advice to a woman feeling late or behind in her career, what would you tell her?
Put 30 minutes a day into whatever you want. That 30 minutes a day becomes, into 360 becomes some big effort, and then multiply that by 2 years, it becomes even bigger effort. So don't think it is late. Nothing is late. I am all ready for doing a PhD if I'm 82. So it's okay. It's okay. But we just have to put in that first 30 minutes, and then you have the next 30 minutes. Find a cohort or find somebody who can support you in that journey. It could be another woman, be part of some organizations that will push you through, because we need motivation. If you have motivation and you have the discipline, like for every 30 minutes you will learn something, I think anything is possible. No, it's never late. It's never, never late.
Yeah. And I do want to say that I think there's something you said earlier, and I also believe in this, that you're a product of who you surround yourself with. So I
Yeah.
think if there are people around you who are always saying, why do you want to do this? Just chill, just slow down. That's what becomes. But if
Yeah.
you're surrounded by people who say, let's try it. So I have really, in my life, I have learned not to be around people who pull you back, you know
Absolutely.
and be around people who say, let's go. You may fail, it's okay. You may still go and fail, it's all right, but at least you won't have the regret that you didn't try. So I think you are really a product of who you surround yourself with. It's important to know who not to hang out with also, not just who
Yeah,
to hang.
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
tell myself that we are the average of the five people that surround ourselves with.
Correct. Yeah, yeah. So I do have to end with asking you the question about the importance of family or an ecosystem, talking about this, the product of the people who surround us. I mean, in your case, your husband had to make a lot of changes as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
He had to quit his job, come here. Every time you say, I'm doing this,
yeah,
and vice versa. I'm sure you were there for him also. But
yes.
tell a little bit, about, especially for women to succeed, what kind of an ecosystem is it important for the women to
I think it
build?
starts with family. My mother took a big role for taking my daughter to therapy and others. My father-in-law would wait for me even if it is 2 a.m. from work. He would cook for me and keep it ready and be sit with me next by me. My husband, even today, he cooks all 3 times. I have done it for the first 15 years of marriage. Then in COVID, he started learning cooking, and now he has been doing it. And he even so many days I ask him, should I do this meal? Should I do this help for you? He says, no, you go do your work. You do go do all the amazing stuff that you have. So I'm very fortunate that way to get a husband like that. My daughter steps in. She will review my I'll ask her, how do you feel as a student? She will review something and say, Amma, this is not good. Don't have this name, don't have this logo, or something like that. She is also my supporter.
Yeah.
And then my friends, right? My friends are amazing if I ask them for a help. Like, some of my mentors, I call them and ask, can you please do this 3 months? Can you help me with this? They will say yes. Today, I called another person and said, can you please mentor this intern? She's very young. Can you do it? Yes. So all the people,
Yeah.
even my designers, every employee of mine has all stuck with me for decades now. And without that ecosystem, we cannot thrive, right? It is not possible. Even you, I have known you for now 20 years, 15 years.
Yeah.
Without all of you are my pillars, right? And
Yeah.
I think without that support, I wouldn't thrive. I'm nobody without it. I'm literally nobody.
And I think I do want to wrap up by saying that I think it is important for us to create that if you don't have family, create the family around you.
Yeah.
I mean, in Portland, I had my I adopted parents, my adopted parents were Jewish and they were so there for me,
Yeah.
always. Like if I took my son, I had to go to a meeting, she'd say, leave him with me, I'll take care of him. So I think it's important for us to invest the time in creating that ecosystem around us, without which it's extremely difficult to do all
Yeah.
the wonderful, crazy things that we want to do. So,
Totally.
uh,
Totally.
Raji, I'm really glad we had this conversation, and I do want to um, say at the end that there is something you said. I want us to all to remember that confidence is not to be inherited, but to be engineered. And I thought it's a beautiful, beautiful,
Thank you.
um, set of words. So I think here is to building confidence across the globe, and hope you'll engineer it at scale.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. With your help and with everybody's blessing. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you
Uh,
very much, and thanks to everybody for listening. And we are here, and check out bluerobins.com, and that's Robins with one B, and check it
yeah.
out, and check all the projects. And if your kids want to do it, they can join too. Okay. Thank you
Okay.
very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Namaste. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Bye-bye. Good.